We've been doing this podcast for a while now.
Oh, yeah.
And we often position ourselves, or we don't need to position ourselves as objectively correct.
Yeah, precisely.
And I think that for a long time, we thought that our views are demonstrably correct, objectively right,
True.
unchallengeable, unquestionable.
Real.
Until I realized that, maybe we're a little bit wrong about crypto. Maybe we're wrong about, NFTs, trading, the blockchain, etc. Because
maybe crypto is the future.
I've just never seen a figure so inspirational compared to Logan Paul.
So true.
And when I learned that Logan Paul was getting into crypto, I dumped all of the money we got from the pod into it. And I'm sorry to say,
every dollar we've gotten from the Patreon and the merch sales,
and
I have dumped into an NFT.
And look, I'm revealing this live on air. It's gone. I lost it. We don't have it anymore.
All the fucking money's gone. Please help me.
All of the money that we've made from our patrons are beautiful donations that we get once a month. It's gone. It's never coming back.
It's not. It's in the air. It's in Crypto Zoo's pocket.
Yeah, exactly. So if you guys don't know, there's been some recent controversy that's been happening over the last few weeks that we didn't cover. Partly because I've made a concerted effort just for myself to not understand anything about crypto.
Real.
I know the basic ins and outs because I can't help it with its proximity to politics and stuff recently, but I feel like it's bad for my mental health to have any holistic understanding of it.
100%. I'd take a principled stance against learning about crypto.
Exactly.
That shit's corny.
I've made an effort to ignore it. I haven't succeeded fully, but I've done a good job.
Anytime I see a picture that looks kind of like an NFT, that it's gone. I try to get it away from me.
So we know we're starting from the basis of crypto is a scam, and we know that it is, right? Because crypto, in its most pure form, it still isn't backed up with anything. And NFTs even less so, right? Like NFTs are literally just an image. It has no value except for the value that we think that it has. So that when, the organization supporting the NFT or crypto or whatever it is collapse or people stop putting value in it, it no longer has any value. You lose all of your money, right? It's entirely fictive.
It's like if you took the stock market, like the real NASDAQ, right? And took out every single one of the market fundamentals that they tell themselves holds the market up and just purely speculation. Just right there, all the bad parts.
And that's the problem with crypto is that it has nothing backing it up except for the value that we think that it has.
Yeah.
And that kind of speculation, that kind of fictive element to crypto makes it very volatile. And that's why we see so many crypto scams collapse so often.
And it's also crazy just considering the Logan Paul situation because I'm pretty sure every single time that a crypto has sponsored like a big creator, it has been a rug pull.
Oh yeah,
I don't think there's been a single one that's been legitimate.
And that's the thing is, that's all crypto can really be.
Yeah.
So for those of you that don't know, Logan Paul has been talking over the last year and a half or so about launching his own crypto NFT venture called Crypto Zoo. And he's been talking about this on and off, and recently a creator called CoffeeZilla, who does a lot of investigative journalism, did a whole 3-part expose on Logan Paul and why basically everything that he's doing has been a scam so far.
Oh, sick.
And I'm not going to reiterate all of it here. You can go watch CoffeeZilla's videos if you want. They have millions of views already. He does a great job breaking it all down. There's some problems, I'm sure, in the journalism somewhere along the line. But in general, it's a pretty good breakdown of why it's a scam. And basically what Logan Paul wanted to do was create his own cryptocurrency, which was just called like ZooCoin or something like that.
Cool.
And you would use ZooCoin in this like virtual game to buy these eggs, right? And these eggs would hatch, and you would get animals, and these eggs were NFTs.
Oh, so you tried to make an NFT game.
And then, it was an NFT game, and then you could combine the animals that you hatch to breed them and make, like, hybrid animals. So you could get, like, an elephant panda or, like, a cat frog or something like that, right? That was the general premise of the game. But the problem came along when people were buying into the coin, and then they weren't able to hatch anything. So the money that they put in basically couldn't be used.
I can't make my penguin fuck the elephant.
And then recently it was revealed in the CoffeeZilla investigation that the whole plan from Logan Paul and his team was to, before it fully launched, was to pump up the value of it by buying into it. And then once all of his fans bought into the coin, they were going to sell and basically do the rug pull. Right?
An illegal pump and dump.
Exactly. Except the problem is that in crypto, because it's basically not regulated at all, it's not illegal.
Fun.
And that was basically the plan. And the whole controversy with Logan Paul comes in because he claims that he basically didn't know like what the scam was. He didn't know what was going on. And I think he did get scammed himself because he had a lot of people in on Crypto Zoo that scammed him out of his money and then dipped.
Yeah, I can imagine a world where he's just ignorant to it a little bit. But
I think he knew it was going to be a scam.
Ultimately, yeah.
Because there were texts that released that they were basically talking about, like, when are we going to pump up the value, then dip? Like, he was aware of that was the plan. But then people that he hired ended up being massive criminals that just took their money and left.
So they scammed. Scammer gets scammed.
Scammer gets scammed. And that's the line of argumentation that he's used to try to absolve himself of responsibility.
Yeah.
He's been saying, I haven't made any money off of this, so how could it be a scam? And it's like, if you are robbing a bank and then your partners ended up robbing you after you robbed the bank, you still robbed the bank.
Damn,
like,
bro,
that's your fault.
Bro dropped all his Fortnite items in the trade, and the middleman took it and ran. Scammer gets scammed.
Yeah.
Scammer gets scammed.
And that's the gist of what happened, is that Logan Paul himself got scammed after trying to do a scam. And he was threatening to sue CoffeeZilla for defamation, even though CoffeeZilla didn't lie at all. And CoffeeZilla even painted Logan Paul as kind of just a goofball in this situation, kind of just someone who got scammed as well, and really put more of the responsibility on the dudes that were really scamming Logan Paul and everybody else. But, like, it's Logan Paul's fault. He's an influential guy. He hired criminals. Like, that's on you.
It is his fault that his influence was used in this way. He could have vetted the people he hired better and things like that. But it's just so sad to see the Paul brothers. Just they're typically so far from controversy. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
Especially Logan.
Especially Logan Paul. He's never visited any place in Japan that
he's never done an abhorrent thing in a notorious forest in Japan.
And it's kind of sad because, like, Logan Paul's kind of been on this redemption arc almost.
Yeah. No, I would argue that Logan Paul, like, has pretty much been on a redemption arc. Like, the podcast, I don't listen to it, but sometimes I see clips pop up on TikTok.
Right.
And it's, like, not awful. Like, he just kind of seems like a regular, like, content creator
like a dude
now. Yeah, he seems like a dude.
And, you know, he's obviously not perfect by any means. He's obviously not like a leftist or, you know, politically aligned with us.
Obviously not like his younger brother, who's still fucking insane.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, definitely still insane. But, it's tough to see that he just did a massive scam, because he is a very popular creator, very influential guy. And it's like, yeah, if you set this all up, you've been touting this for a year and a half now. It is your fault if you hired criminals and then they scammed your fans as well as you at the same time. Also, like, you knew it was going to be a scam. You should have probably expected yourself to get played by the people you were employing. Damn. There's also an issue of him, like, not paying any of the people that were, like, creating the art or, like, managing the code or anything like that. So it's top to bottom, all the way up and down. It's just a whole scam. Everyone involved got scammed.
Damn, that's crazy.
And that's a lesson of why you shouldn't invest in crypto. It's a bad idea.
Well, that's a lesson in why you shouldn't invest in crypto games. However, we'd like to announce that we're launching HittoCoin.
We're announcing, we're launching HittoCoin, where you can hatch your own podcasters and then combine them to make your own special shows. And these shows will be valued based on how rare they are. Exactly. And you can either cash out or keep bumping up the price of your NFT podcast.
Hear me out. This would actually, it's a rare crossover, right? With the NFTs we launched 3 weeks back with Hitto cards. You can take your Hitto cards, and if you buy 2 or more, you can mate them. You can make them kiss, and you can hatch more podcasts, and you can do more podcasts.
You can start a traditional family with your NFTs.
You can start a nuclear family with your Hitto cards,
and you can use them to protect the nuclear family in the United States, because it's under threat.
Backed by HittoCoin in the Hitto game.
Yeah, so you should buy in now before the price goes up.
Exactly.
We've already bought in though, so good luck. Welcome back to Head in the Office, everybody.
I hope you all secured your Hitto coins, Hitto cards, and got your login to the new Hitto game during our quick break.
Well, because if you're not ready, you might have the proverbial rug pulled out from underneath you.
Exactly.
Just so you know, just a little hint.
In the game.
As always, we're going to remind you all, check out our Patreon, YouTube, TikTok. If you want to support the show, check out our social medias, become a follower. I think we're very close to 1,000 on YouTube.
We're like
now.
968 as of the time we're recording this.
So you all need to get in there, get your friends in there. I know you got 30 friends.
I'm trying to make a couple cents off of each episode.
And for our patrons specifically, we just hit our goal. We've gotten a couple new patrons recently, so if you're listening to early episodes for the first time, welcome to Sunday.
Oh, let's
talking to you right now.
The Sabbath.
And because we hit our goal, that means we're going to be doing our Q&A pretty soon. And I think by the time this episode launches on Wednesday, for every other listener that isn't early patron, you'll have access to the form to ask us some questions. We'll give patrons priority since you guys are the ones that got us there.
100%.
And we'll do a little Q&A episode. Going to release early, of course, for our patrons.
Naturally.
Later on for everybody else.
There's people that make it happen.
But it'll
making
be
the money move.
If you want to ask us a question, it can be politics related. It could be personal related. It could be anything you want.
Any question.
And, maybe we'll have a little good time with it. You know what I'm saying?
Hey, all of it. Would you rather
would you rather
sit
question?
on a cake and eat dick, or sit on a dick and eat cake?
But as always, we got some 5-star reviews to read. We actually got several of these. We got some on Instagram. We got some on Apple. But as always, if you want to support the show, check us out on Apple. Leave a 5-star review.
Canadians.
Yeah, that's upsetting. I'll say. But we'll take the Canadian.
I know we opened up the Instagram review option for the Canadians who aren't having their review show up, and for you who aren't having their review show up, but I don't necessarily like it.
Well, if you're in Canada, you are, because of Justin Trudeau, a communist. And therefore lesser because I'm an American.
Yeah.
You might as well move to it. Look, California has a greater population than Canada, or I think it's somewhere around there.
Does it really?
Look, all I'm going to say, I'm a red-blooded, freedom-loving American.
Get shit on, and we got 49 more of those. We got 49 more states.
That's what. Yeah, exactly. That's just one of our states.
5 provinces?
Yeah, exactly.
That's crazy.
What do you got? The cold?
Yeah.
Come on now.
Bitch.
Come on now. I bet if you're in Canada listening to this right now, I bet we got people in the state of Michigan living further north than you.
Yeah.
Get dunked on.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Anyways, getting into our beautiful 5-star reviews. We love our Canadian listeners. Just a little bit of anti-Canada fun for the beginning of the episode. Yeah. Starting off with this first review from Apple. It's subject line 10 out of 10 pod, immaculate vibes by, I think it's a keyboard smash, I'm going to guess. Good pronunciation. This review says, I recently started following the podcast on Spotify, and I had to give it a 5-star review. I'm pretty young, still on the high school grind, but the pod makes politics feel more accessible and less depressing. That's our job.
Absolutely.
Makes me feel like I'm chatting with the homies instead of turning on the news. Really great takes. I especially appreciate the holiday pregame episodes. I'm glad you appreciate those.
I'm glad.
I always wonder if people love those ones. Y'all are helping me get the guts to verbally berate my hog-ass right-wing libertarian
and that's
teacher
what it's all about.
Without feeling stupid when he pulls out big words. Love the guy, but he's a diehard capitalist. Trying to radicalize him for the pod, but I'll need thoughts and prayers to keep fighting the good fight. Very entertaining. Give the pod a listen if you can. Just so you know, I tripped up on thoughts and prayers because it's got some of the words are capital and I couldn't read it.
It's the SpongeBob meme, you know?
Exactly. Yeah, it's the SpongeBob meme. Yeah. But thanks for that review. We really appreciate it, and I'm wishing you luck with the teachers because teachers, they're pretty set in their ways already because they're teaching you the content. So good luck radicalizing.
You got it. Though.
We'll see if you're able to do that.
Play the episode in class. Oh no, I forgot to plug in my AirPods. I forgot to plug in my headphones.
You got the Instagram ones pulled up? You want to hit one of those?
Oh shit, let me go. The first one from Alexia. Since someone at Apple must want to silence me. LOL. I've tried to write a review 3 times. Here's my 5-star review. Clears throat. Head O is hands down the best geopolypod, I say, ever created. That's what we've been on all year.
Well, I've been saying this.
In fact, that's what we've been on all year. Gage and Jeremy are your answer to every "what the fuck is happening" question you find yourself asking about the current political climate. Mm-hmm. If I had this, I'm sorry, I'm so bad at reading. If I had this epic show available to me in 8th grade, I would have been the monarch of the dreaded weekly current events presentations. That's foul in 8th grade. These 2 American heroes deserve our gratitude and appreciation. Now that's what I've been saying.
Let her cook. Let her cook.
Specifically by becoming a member on Patreon.
That's right. We got people repping here for the bag.
She's
That's crazy.
Spitting. They make me laugh when the world makes me feel like crying. I'm applying to law school this year, good luck, which will hopefully lead me on a path to running for some type of elected position in the future.
You better hire us.
I am hiring these distinguished gentlemen to be part of my political campaign, and that is a promise. It is so incredible to hear 2 young guys who are so intelligent and actually give a fuck about our country's future. Thank you for being the voice of our generation and working so hard to make the world a better place instead of being DJs and or social media influencers. LOL. Love you guys. Hope you guys can produce more episodes weekly. I can't wait to see how much this podcast will grow. Maybe a national live tour. That's what I'm saying.
That would be incredible.
Hope to meet you guys one day. Keep up the freaking awesome work. Much love from San Diego, California. Lex. P.S. Not all private school kids turn out to be assholes.
Look, we are just racking up the number of states that we have to visit once we go on our live tour.
Real?
That'll be the next patron goal. Once we hit $1,000 a month, we'll have the money to go on a live tour across the nation. No,
that's excellent. That's got to be the gold standard for reviews right there.
Yeah.
Hit the personal praise. Hit the Patreon.
Made us feel good.
That's crazy.
Thank you for the words. Those were very inspiring. And once you do run for office and hire us, my rate is $200 an hour.
No, I'm billing minutes. You'll learn about that in law school.
Yeah. Our next one from Apple here is subject line, like NPR, but actually cooler, funny by SoonerFan02. They say, I've been a leftist for a while, and I've felt such a dork listening to NPR and BBC. Very, quote, actually energy. This show and some more news are the best part of my week. It's kind of sick to hear knowledgeable people around my age speak about relevant issues with sincerity and authority while also being entertaining. Wishing you all the best in 2023 and beyond, probably. To be ranked with some more news, it's pretty crazy.
That's pretty high. That's pretty high. But I do have to go on a quick tangent here. Did you see Andrew Callahan be interviewed by the NPR journalist?
I didn't watch that.
Did you see the clip?
No, I didn't watch any of it.
Oh
I saw
my God. Though. So you know how he you know about Andrew Callahan's new documentary?
Channel 5? Or
the new documentary that he just dropped.
What's the new one about?
Oh, he dropped it on HBO Max. It's about the lead up to the January 6th riot.
Oh,
like
nice.
It was interviews that he was doing with people. Like he's interviewing Alex Jones in one of the things, and in his interview with Alex Jones, they go down to like Alex Jones's personal gym and start lifting weights because Andrew Callahan's a goofy guy.
He's a goofball.
He's a goofball.
I don't know how he gets all these interviews.
I don't either, but he's gas at it, and he's clearly very good at what he does.
Right.
But the NPR journalist said, "Well, Alex Jones is such a vile human being. What made you want to go down and drink and lift weights with this man?" And he's like, what the fuck? And he's just like, what the fuck are you talking about? It's just where the story took me. Like,
right.
Oh, my goodness. Legacy media.
I mean, I feel like Andrew Callahan gets a pass on that kind of stuff.
Absolutely.
Like someone, like a regular reporter might get criticized if they say, like, had a meal with Donald Trump and, like, hung out. But Andrew Callahan is a goofy guy and is somehow able to get behind the scenes for all these wacky-ass interviews.
Yeah. I
think he gets a pass on that.
And it's also, like, part of his process.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like he's always doing the goofball stuff.
Right.
He's always pulling up to the I don't know what it is, the conventions, and there's always a white rapper there.
Yeah. I don't know how he does it.
I don't either. But that's how he builds rapport with the people he's reviewing and gets into it. I feel like people like him absolutely get a pass.
Oh, for sure.
If it's just a regular guy whining, if it's Nick Fuentes and Kanye whining and dining Donald Trump, it's something else.
Yeah.
But if it's Andrew Callahan, you know what I mean? But anyway, I digress. Time to hit the last Instagram review from Alex. 5-star podcast, listening in from Sweden, Yerbs, Michigan. I can confirm that Greta Thunberg is in fact from Sweden or Poland or one of the other Eastern European countries. They're all the same to me.
True.
That's what I said. Due to the political realities that be, us Swedes need to keep up with U.S. politics, and Hitto is quickly becoming my favorite way to do so. Keep up the good work, and much love from the other side of the pond.
You know, we're an unbiased news source.
Exactly.
Our coverage, our broadcast is completely unbiased, free from opinion.
100%.
We are just giving you a simple look at the facts, a window into the greatest nation in the world. That's my opinion.
That's also my opinion as well. I also lied about that being the last Instagram review because I have one pulled up on my phone right here. This one's from Ethan. Hello down there. Fuck. Don't condescend.
How do you even know? We could be further north than you. You
exactly,
don't know.
Exactly.
Depends where you are.
You could be lower than Michigan right now.
Exactly. You could.
Unless you live in like the tippy top. In which case, I'm surprised you have signal, bitch.
I'm surprised you haven't froze to death. Yeah.
Hello down there. I tried to send a review a while ago, but sadly, I'm a lowly Canadian citizen.
Yeah, that's
enjoying too much socialized healthcare in an extremely socialist government. At least if you ask any conservative in Canada. Anyways, I've been following you guys for a while. I found you on a fluke scrolling YouTube. Probably popped up because I follow Bo of the Fifth Column. And from day one, I very much have enjoyed your pod. You absolute gentlemen and scholars are quite funny, and your takes are something to behold. You focus on not spreading fear like right-wing channels and some left-wing channels, and try your best to make light of the absolute shithole issues you fellas cover. Anyways, you guys are the best. Keep up the good work. Spread love, not hate, and have yourselves a wonderful day. 7.5 out of 5 stars. Amazing stuff.
You know, we'll see if you hold that same opinion going forward, since 2023 is the year of malicious intent. at least for me.
Diabolical and malicious intent.
Like I'm trying to actively be evil. And I know some people have joked like, oh, you guys are already doing that. Like that's not a resolution. No, I'm evil.
No,
now.
I'm acting mischievous.
Yeah.
I'm scheming in the background, plotting, finding ways to commit debauchery.
Like I'm not abandoning my principles, right? Like I still believe the same things, but I'm going to share those views and act on those views
with malintent.
Exactly. Being absolutely evil. That's the plan. So we'll see if you Canadians keep up with us at that point.
I guess this Canadian specifically can get a pass, though, considering that he's got to be like the one guy that found us on YouTube.
That's true, except I can't forgive Canada for giving us Jordan Peterson.
You're right.
Because Jordan Peterson has been going crazy. He's in his actual Joker
face. Is he
face.
getting his license removed?
That's what he keeps saying. I don't know. I haven't really looked into it, but I know on Twitter he will not shut the fuck up about it. He just keeps tweeting something about Jordan. Like he needs to post.
Didn't Jordan Peterson? Didn't
nice.
Jordan Peterson shut the fuck up? Didn't Jordan Peterson tweet something the other day like, I can't find child porn as easily now on here?
Yeah. Well, yeah, because he was congratulating Elon Musk on doing so. He was dick
doing
riding
so well for moderation.
And he was like, now I can't. He's like, now I'm seeing a lot less child porn. It's like, hold up, why were you seeing it before?
I have never. It's just like those two guys that were popping off a couple weeks ago.
The algorithm is tailored to show you more of what you like and comment on and retweet. So
it's just like me and Jeremy were talking about this before the show. It's just like those two guys that popped up a couple weeks ago. The like Christian dudes, like they're trying to be like Jesus influencers, right? And they're talking about like their journey to stop masturbating and stop watching porn. And the one guy's like, yeah, I was just I was getting so deep into my porn addiction that I was just watching transgender videos and just getting off on those. And it's like, my brother, I have never once had one of the like just pop up randomly and just like happen to click on them.
Sounds like a you thing.
Sounds like a you thing. It's completely okay.
Oh yeah,
like it's completely okay if that's what you like. However, it's like, not okay to get on here and shit on them.
You can be into trans people, dog.
Yeah,
like don't fetishize people, obviously, but like, you can be into. It's okay.
You can have a genital preference.
Exactly.
You can do that. You can be like, oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and that's really funny how they try to like draw their way out of it with their religion.
Oh yeah.
You should just accept it. It makes the process a lot easier.
Real. A lot more mentally healthy.
I think it's time to get into the news.
Absolutely. It's time to talk about Kevin
We've
McCarthy.
Been pandering enough. We got to talk about Kevin McCarthy. The hashtag NeverKevin movement was alive and well. If any of you were paying attention to our tweets over the last week or so, you'll know that we are a part of the NeverKevin movement.
Absolutely.
We are NeverKevin.
A diehard.
Yeah, I'm a diehard NeverKevin. And
principled stance.
You know, it was a fun week or so, but unfortunately, all good things come to an end.
Yeah.
And just like that, the NeverKevin movement is over. But the biggest news of the week, obviously, what we're talking about, Kevin McCarthy was getting absolutely slapped around by 20 people within his party. Is one of the rare moments that recording on Sundays actually helped us out.
True.
Because this whole crisis resolved itself Saturday at like 1 a.m.
Yeah.
So we got in here just when the news was, it's still fresh right now.
I was reading about it Saturday morning. A fight broke out.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We'll get to that. And I was worried that, so at the very end, and I'll explain this a little bit later on, but at the very end, they were considering adjourning until Monday.
Yeah.
And I was kind of just tracking the news passively when this was happening. And I was worried that they would adjourn till Monday, then we wouldn't get to talk about the conclusion.
I'd be so
And then
mad.
it would have just ended Monday because that's probably what had happened. But they were able to get one more vote in, and Kevin McCarthy won at the very end there. So that's pretty fun. That's pretty fun. So we get the news. What was the point
That's
of that?
helping me commit. That's helping me make good on my New Year's resolution of doing more debauchery.
Oh, yeah. I'm always trying to do more debauchery.
Absolutely.
Just I'm trying to purposefully spread more misinformation. You know what I'm saying?
That's right.
Anyways, getting into this Kevin McCarthy stuff. So after 15 ballots across 4 days, Kevin McCarthy was finally elected Speaker of the U.S. House of Representatives.
Isn't that one of the longest, like...
I think it's the eighth longest.
The eighth longest.
Something like that.
Okay, because I saw something. I was watching like MSNBC clips earlier. Forgive me, and it was like one covering the ninth vote. Why are you? It was one covering like the ninth vote, and they're like, yeah, this is like tied for the ninth longest holdout.
Yeah,
for Speaker of the House. That's crazy.
I think so. There's a couple of them throughout history that were like 1, 2, 3, very low amount of ballots that had to be held in order to for the party in power to get their speaker that they wanted. And then there's a bunch of them around the amount that we just had, around like 9, 10, and then like 20, 30 areas, right? And 15 falls in the middle of that.
Sick.
And then the longest one was 133, and that was happening, I think, during or right before the Civil War. So slavery was the main issue, and the country was very divided for a specific reason, you know what I mean? So we didn't get to 133, but 15 is very long, and it's the first time in 100 years that the party elected to the majority didn't immediately get the speaker they wanted on the first ballot.
Wow.
The first time in 100 years, not since 1923 has this happened. 100 years ago.
That's actually so cool.
Isn't that crazy? So for those that don't know, the process is a little bit confusing. The House has a bunch of rules that can't be established until a speaker is chosen. In the Constitution's a pretty short document, right?
Yeah.
And there's nothing in there that explicitly lays out, this is how the Senate works, this is how the House works. They decide for themselves. So they pass rules every time there's a new Congress being inaugurated. And they can't do that until they have a speaker, because the speaker has to be the one to present every bill that's being voted on.
Yep.
And so the first thing they always do is have a speaker, get election, every single time. And for the last 100 years, the party that gets elected the majority, whether it be Democrats or Republicans, get the speaker they want immediately.
Yep.
Because they all vote for the same person, right?
Very homogenous.
So Republicans got 222 seats in this U.S. House, this session of Congress. And if it was like any other year, they all would have voted for the same person. That gives them a majority, and they win the speakership. But that's not what happened this time. And so that's where the whole debacle came in, and the House wasn't able to do anything but continuously vote on the speaker or vote to adjourn. And there were several motions to adjourn to the next day or the next week, and they were just blocked by the people that wanted to keep voting on a speaker.
So fucking cool.
So our Congress for the last week was basically just gridlocked. Nothing could pass. Even if the Senate passed the bill, which they didn't, but even if they did, nothing could go through the House, so nothing could be signed by the president into law. We functionally didn't have a U.S. House of Representatives.
And it's also like kind of extra funny because even if this would have continued on for like another month, nothing would have really changed.
Yeah.
It's not like bills are going to pass anyway.
Yeah. Well, we'll get to things that might pass in a little bit. But so we talked about this exact situation a few weeks ago. One of the times, similar to like the Russia-Ukraine stuff, where we preempted the news and got there way before anybody else. What can I say? It's kind of what we do around here. But we didn't predict, and nobody really predicted, that it would take 15 ballots to finally get to Kevin McCarthy. I think we did predict that Kevin was going to get it eventually. We didn't know who else.
Who else would have got it? I think they were the NeverKeviners for putting up Jim Jordan.
Yes. Yeah, there was, we had predictions about Jim Jordan. There was the guy that was kind of not leading, but was kind of the front man for all of them. It was Andy Biggs was the guy that they kept putting up.
Yeah.
He didn't win. So we didn't really know who else it would be. There could have been like a consensus candidate for Democrats and Republicans, but like Dems were there was no incentive for Democrats to do that. So we didn't predict that it would take 15 ballots, but here we are. It took 15 ballots, and I think it's time to go over what happened. How did we get here?
Let's do it.
So to start, the NeverKevins, they made good on their promise that they made a few weeks ago, and they had about 20 holdouts that just refused to vote for Kevin. They voted for other people, like we mentioned, Jim Jordan. At one point, Lauren Boebert, who was a part of this group, she was given some speech, because you got to give nomination speeches before a speaker gets nominated in the House. And she was like, we want to put up a very hardworking, very well-known person, Byron Donalds. And I was like, who is Byron Donalds?
We want to put up one of the best guys I know. I know he's not a representative here in the House of Representatives. However, he's a good man, a good father, a good person. John Bolton.
Yeah. He deserves to be president. I'm on the Bolton train.
He's geared up for his run. I'm unironically rooting for it. If it was Trump, DeSantis, or Bolton, I'm John Bolton all the way, baby. Yeah.
I'm jolting for Bolton. That's all I'm going to say. The resistance also included Matt Gaetz, so it's really a who's who of the worst people on the planet. So that's fun.
Everyone but like Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Right, yeah. Marjorie Taylor Greene was one of the people that we expected to be a part of them that wasn't, because she was getting her committees back under Kevin. But so Kevin, he needed to get to 218. But he couldn't because there were 20 holdouts, so he kept getting around 200 or so votes. Yeah. I think he started at 202.
For a while, Hakeem Jeffries was getting more votes than him.
Almost the whole time. Yeah. Hakeem Jeffries was getting more votes.
Until the very end.
And simply, the math it didn't add up for Kevin. Kevin could not get to 212. So after a few rounds of voting, he dropped down to about 200 pretty early on. Donald Trump gave a call to the holdouts and was like, hey, just like vote for Kevin. Like, this looks bad for Republicans. And that didn't change anyone's vote.
But it's like, that's kind of interesting in of itself, because it's like, does he not have the sway that he did anymore? Are they not like looking at him as the presidential nominee for 2024?
It is interesting because Lauren Boebert was doing rounds of interviews while this all was going on, like after Congress had closed for the night or whatever. And I think Sean Hannity asked her, like, Donald Trump called you and he said, just move on. Like, he's the leader of the Republican Party, quote unquote. Why are you guys not just moving on? And she said, well, I disagree with Trump on this one. I think that we should oppose Kevin McCarthy. And it's like, these Republicans that are opposing Kevin McCarthy, I'm sure they have several reasons for doing it, but one of them is that they don't like Kevin, and they're not wrong because nobody likes Kevin McCarthy.
Who would like Kevin McCarthy?
Like Kevin McCarthy, he just doesn't have that dog in him.
I'm sure he's just not that guy.
And Trump also doesn't like Kevin McCarthy. And I think it's interesting how these Republicans, these 20 holdouts, are, I think, correctly making the assumption that this is sort of inside baseball. They don't think that it's going to politically affect them or hurt them in any way, and I think they're right. I don't think this is going to hurt them in any way.
Sure.
I don't think I don't think there's any backlash on them for this.
It's also weird because it's like they're like the younger, new, like principled conservatives.
The most insane ones.
They're the most insane ones. Are like the actual principled conservatives that are coming in, principled in a very bad way.
Yeah,
principled in being far right. But they're like, yeah, we don't want this rhino speaker, Kevin McCarthy.
Yeah, I mean,
insane.
And they're right to not like him.
Yeah.
Like, all of their assumptions about him, all of their calculations they're making about Kevin McCarthy not being, like, far right enough, they're correct. Like, he will not burn down the government like they want to.
They're correct. He's not necessarily a Nazi.
Yeah, although they are almost ideologically the same, or at least they act ideologically the same. Like, their actions have the same effect.
They vote the same,
exactly. They'll agree on 95% of all issues. They are right to assume that Kevin McCarthy will not eventually do an insurrection like they want to.
Yeah.
And I think that's ultimately why they were trying to hold out. But at around the 12th round or so, some of the holdouts started to move, right? Kevin McCarthy was in constant meetings, making constant concessions to these people. He gave them almost every single thing that they wanted.
So crazy.
And still around round 12, he lost again. And then they got to round 14. This was now Friday night of the last week. And Republicans were convinced that he had the votes to win. Everyone was convinced that he had the votes to win. But then he lost by one. He lost by one. And guess who decided that vote?
It was Matt
Gaetz. It was Matt Gaetz.
He didn't even say no. Didn't he just vote present?
He voted present.
He voted present.
Well, I think so. He voted present the last two rounds, and there's people I think were counting votes wrong. Like, not the clerk that was announcing them, but people that were like observing this were counting the votes incorrectly. So I think Matt Gaetz voted present like the last two rounds, and there were some of his people that were still voting for other candidates, and he wasn't telling them to vote otherwise. So them voting present basically takes them out of what's needed to get to the speakership.
Out of the tally.
And so them still voting for other people meant Kevin couldn't win. And there was basically, they needed one vote. And so Kevin McCarthy at this point walks up to Matt Gaetz after he loses the 14th round and just starts yelling at him.
He stomps over to him.
And I mean, this, like, at this point, we're getting like Renaissance photos, right? Yeah. Like, it's crazy, like the amount of just picturable moments that we're getting out of this. It's
especially
crazy.
gas too, because one of the rules that the speaker has to set is rules for the media to record within the chamber.
Yeah.
And so usually C-SPAN and whoever else is recording there can only record like who's speaking and wide shots.
Yeah.
This time they got all the action. They were zooming in on McCarthy's walk up. They were showing him walking up to Gaetz, yelling at Gaetz. They were showing Gaetz's reaction. It was crazy. It was cinematic.
Low key, C-SPAN should always be able to do that.
That's what I'm saying. Because like, why limit it?
Yeah.
You got a gas image of Katie Porter just reading a book.
It's the people's house. It's the people's house.
Why can't I look?
But yeah, so Kevin McCarthy starts yelling at Matt Gaetz, and Gaetz is there was no audio to it.
Yeah.
But I can only assume that Gaetz was basically like, I'm not moving. Like, I'm not changing I'm not going to get my friends to move. We're just sitting here, and we are not letting you get speaker. And then this was the point when Representative from Alabama, Mike Rogers, looks like he's about to throw a fist at Matt Gaetz.
About it.
Like, he's running up on Matt Gaetz. Matt Gaetz is like sitting in one of the chairs in the House, and he looks like he's going to fight.
Oh yeah.
Mike Rogers has that dog in him.
And then his friends are holding him back.
And that's where we got the now viral image of Mike Rogers trying to push up, and dude is holding him back like by the shoulders and head, not letting him fight Matt Gaetz. And then the House went to adjourn. They've tried to vote to adjourn, and that vote failed. They didn't get to adjourn. So people that were voting no were like, no, we're still voting. And then another vote was held, the 15th, where Kevin McCarthy got it by just one vote, 216 to 212, because 6 of them were voting present. So he was able to eke by and get the speakership.
Crazy.
And that ended the 4 days of drama of Kevin McCarthy not getting the job he's fought for years now. So
years.
That puts us with Kevin McCarthy in the speakership. And the final 6 holdouts were Matt Gaetz, of course, Lauren Boebert, Andy Biggs, Bob Good, Eli Crane, and Matt Rosendale. And there was also...
Even Jim Jordan went out. Didn't a bunch of people not show up, too?
There were some people that... I think just about everybody was there for the whole time because it was so important. But it was funny to see Jim Jordan was like the first one to nominate Kevin McCarthy because Jim Jordan was on his side.
Oh.
And then... right after that, Matt Gaetz gets up and he goes, "We just heard a great speech from a great leader. I nominate Jim Jordan for speaker." Like, it's just a
so
clown
petty.
show.
Oh my God.
Clown show. Also, amongst the original 20 holdouts was Mary Miller. You remember her? Representative from Illinois, no neo-Nazi. She was the one at the Trump rally that said Hitler was right about one thing. Yeah, so
it's a good group of people.
It's a great group of people. So, that puts Kevin McCarthy in the speaker seat, and that was the drama over the last several days. As you can see, completely dysfunctional. I mean, GOP just won the election dysfunctional. Yeah.
Riveting drama.
So, now the question is, why'd they do it?
Why did they
And I think that's the question that a lot of people are asking, and people seem to be confused.
No fucking idea why they would do it.
This guy seems to be confused.
I'm a little confused.
And I think there is an answer to it that we can find.
Okay.
And the first one is, one, they wanted concessions, obviously.
Yeah.
This was what they had the facade of trying to do, right? It was they wanted concessions, right? That's what they said publicly. That's what they were willing to admit. They wanted a variety of concessions, and we'll read through exactly what Kevin conceded in a bit. But number 2, I think, and this is my prediction, that they want someone who's actually willing to use the debt ceiling as a real threat rather than an empty threat, right? Because as we've talked about...
That makes a whole lot of sense.
The Republican Party has, for a long time, threatened to not raise the debt ceiling unless Democrats pass certain things that they want. And they use this threat when they're out of power because they they have no other bargaining chip. And not raising the debt ceiling, for those that don't know, would basically collapse the U.S. economy.
Yeah.
Because it means we default on our loans, interest rates would spike, prices of everything would spike. Countries around the world would realize that putting your money into America is a bad idea. They would pull all their money out, and the global economy would fall apart.
Real.
Like, I want you all to imagine a Jenga tower, and you've gone around with your group like 10 times.
Everything is stacked up like all the way.
The only brick you think you can pull out is the debt ceiling, but you also know that the whole tower is going to collapse if you like. That's what the debt ceiling is if you don't raise it, the economy's done.
Yeah.
And I think that this group of 20 holdouts are so insane that they want a speaker that is willing to actually push the button and willing to actually use it if they don't get what they want. They're surprisingly, their main priority on their platform or whatever is to collapse the U.S. economy if they don't get what they want, because they're the ones that just don't give a fuck enough to do it.
So fucking insane.
Yeah.
So insane.
And I think the last reason, like we mentioned before, is that they hate Kevin McCarthy because they have rightly assumed that he is just he's not even human. He's just a suit filled with checks signed by super PACs.
Yeah, and that like harkens back to what we were saying earlier about how like these are the principled conservatives, the principled far-right conservatives, not just the ones who are playing politics as the political game for their own personal power. Right. They genuinely believe these fucking unhinged and crazy things.
Yeah, and that's what makes it really surprising to see what happened, is that they were willing to defect from the entire party after the party just got slapped in the midterms. After the party was supposed to win like 30, 40, 50, 60 seats in the House.
Supposed to be a red tsunami.
And they didn't. They didn't even win the Senate. They didn't come anywhere near. They lost in various states around the country, and they barely got to own the House, and now they can't even hold it together.
We came out better in the Senate than we were before.
Yeah.
That's nuts.
We earned a seat. Like, we earned a seat. That's nutty. And it's just wild to see that these 20 people, 20 Republicans within the caucus, were willing to push back against Kevin that hard because they just don't trust him.
It is wild to see the concessions that they got that we're going to dive into right now.
We got it right now. So this is all from CNN. This is a list I found on CNN. They were reporting as all the drama was coming out. And this is a list of all of the concessions they did get.
Yeah.
So presumably when they vote on a rules package, if they do it before this episode comes out, this will be in there, I would guess.
Yes.
To some extent.
You think that like behind the table, they're like, I want to be invited to these orgies?
Maybe.
I need an invite.
This is what we know about.
These are the ones that are like public info reported to the news media.
Yeah, we know that these are concessions that Kevin made, but we don't know the more subtle things that he just agreed to on the side.
Exactly.
So who knows? And that's a real question of what he agreed to there. But the first one is, and we talked about this one before, any member can now call for a motion to vacate the speaker's chair at any time.
That's gas.
And the vote takes a majority to kick Kevin out. So Kevin doesn't ever really have the job.
Oh, hell no. Especially because if a Republican brings up the motion, because I'm pretty sure conservative has to bring up the motion to vacate the speaker's chair, they need, 4 people? And then all the Democrats vote yes and he's gone?
Right. Like, that's it. That's all they have to do.
That's crazy.
Like, yeah, they need 4 or 6 or something like that.
Yeah.
And it's over for him. Like, he's just out. He loses the job and they have to do all of this again. Because the House
to his head,
the House can't function without it. And so one of them, or just a group of them, decides today's the day that Kevin loses his job. If they decide in a week, it's over. Like, what?
They could decide tomorrow.
He doesn't have a job. Like, it would have been really funny if right after that, Matt Gaetz was like,
"I'd like to motion to vacate."
Yeah. Moving on to the next concession, McCarthy also agreed, or McCarthy-aligned super PACs agreed to not interfere in Republican primaries and save districts. This was a problem for the more radical people in Republican primaries that were being targeted by Kevin's super PACs. There was one guy, Bob Good, who I think had a personal vendetta against Kevin because Kevin tried to get him not elected.
Oh, that's
and had to have another Republican win, and it didn't work. So Bob Good is just like, I hate Kevin McCarthy. So that's that for you. The House also is now going to vote on conservative bills, quote, including a balanced budget, congressional term limits, and a border security. So we'll see if that happens.
Cool.
Congressional term limits is kind of interesting, though.
That is.
I wonder if that's actual term limits or if it's just going to be leadership term limits. Like, you can only be speaker once or something like that.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either. The next one, raise the debt ceiling, will be paired with spending cuts. So they're not going to pass it without doing spending cuts as well, which we'll see if that happens.
Yeah.
They said no more omnibus bills, which means appropriation bills have to move through Congress individually. So different line items will be their own bill, which to me,
when there's 1,000 line items.
The last one was a 4,000-page bill.
Yeah.
So to me, this is it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
There's no way. Congress drags their feet for so long, they won't have time to pass everything individually.
It took a year and a half to pass the Inflation Reduction Act?
Right.
And that's one omnibus bill.
The recent omnibus bill that got passed, the $1.7 trillion one, where the defense spending and all that stuff. Yeah. All of that, there's no way they would have had time to do that before the fiscal year ended. Come on now. It wouldn't have happened.
It's crazy. McCarthy has also individually proposed that he wants to bring the defense budget back to the 2022 budget. Functionally cut it by $75 billion.
Interesting.
Yeah.
We'll see. Probably not, but we'll see.
Yeah,
we'll see if that actually happens. They wanted more committee representation for the Freedom Caucus, also the NeverKevins, the same group.
Put me on, Coach.
Discretionary spending caps on every category, just about. They want 72 hours to review bills before they come to the floor, which again is another that's not going to happen.
Yeah,
there's just no chance. Not like they're going to read them anyway if they're 4,000 pages. They want more amendments to be given on bills on the floor, which isn't a thing that really happens in the House anymore. They don't really have much of a chance, as they used to put amendments on bills on the House floor. Not the way that the Senate does.
Okay. I was going to say, doesn't the Senate? Yeah, all right.
I think the Speaker controls that, and that's what they wanted out of the Speaker. They want to quote, and this is just directly quoted from CNN because I had no way to paraphrase it, create an investigative committee to probe the weaponization of the federal government. So Hunter Biden Dick.
The Hunter Biden Dick the FBI.
And then they want to restore the Holman Rule, which can be used to reduce the salary of government officials. So
bring Kevin's money down to zero.
Yeah.
Take all of his power away, and then kick him out.
I don't know how you look at this list of concessions and think Kevin McCarthy will be able to govern as Speaker. He's going to be the weakest Speaker maybe ever in history. He doesn't have the job. I don't know. He gets the painting, I guess, in the hallway.
Not only has he just given up power, he's just made extended the functions of the House, made them so that nothing can really happen if every line item has to be voted on in any omnibus bill or any big bill that's coming. And he personally has a gun to his head if his salary can be reduced and if he can just be kicked out.
Yeah. Motion to vacate the Speaker's chair.
Yeah.
Kick Kevin McCarthy out. Then vote to take away his salary. No more lifetime salary. And then vote to remove the painting and bust from the hallway. Can't have any of that up. And then vote to jail Kevin McCarthy.
Vote to remove his name from history.
So how did we get here? Like, because this is obviously a debacle, and the first thing I would say is that, again, no one really likes Kevin McCarthy. Not even the people that were supporting him the whole time. I don't think any of them really like Kevin McCarthy.
Yeah.
He doesn't have that dog in him. He's not that guy.
And it's like, from what I can tell, even regular, like, everyday conservative people don't like Kevin McCarthy.
Yeah.
Because why would you?
Yeah.
Why would you from, like, a principled, real, like, moral good person standpoint? And also, why would you from the standpoint of a Trump voting conservative?
Yeah, exactly.
Because they're with Matt Gaetz. They're with Lauren Boebert. They're with that side of the party. And because they think they're the people that are getting things done.
And that's the thing, is that Kevin McCarthy, ever since he's been in House leadership, since like 2014 or somewhere in there, whenever he started off as the minority whip, and then he worked his way up, and now he's the Speaker of the House. Ever since he's been in leadership, he has been placating too far right elements in the GOP.
Yeah.
And the only reason for that is because, one, I guess there's two reasons. One, they're the most insane, so they're the most willing to like stop the legislative process. And two, because those far right elements are able to win them elections.
Yeah.
So you kind of have to placate to them. Otherwise, you seem like you don't genuinely believe in the principles that you're saying you believe in, right? Because they can always take it a step farther. You can say like, oh, I believe in a tough border, and then they can say, okay, we should kill all immigrants. And then suddenly you don't look like you're tough on the border.
He said, fuck, dude, I'm really light on crime.
And if your whole shtick is that you are hard on crime and you want to be fiscally conservative, and then they say we should execute all drug dealers, suddenly you look like the softie.
Damn, I only want to throw drug dealers in Guantanamo.
Exactly.
They want to kill them. Fuck, I got to up my game.
And it's like, we've talked about how this extremism on the right kind of lost the GOP the election in a way.
Yeah.
And it's crazy to see. I guess it's just indicative of the times, a sign of the times. That they are just like sinking. The first act that they do when they get into Congress, barely eking out a victory, is just obstruction. Like immediately,
obstructionists get obstructed.
Yeah,
that's what's going on.
Yeah, so that's another reason that we are here when we are, or we're where we are now. And it's important to note that like clashes between factions in the far right usually always result in the right becoming further right. Like that's the result, and I think that's what we're gonna get here too. And because they've shaved off more power for themselves, so
if he doesn't become more right, he loses his job.
Exactly, because if he doesn't become more right, then it looks like he's being soft. He has to go further right, otherwise, one, he's gonna lose his job, and the right's just gonna keep getting pulled because they can't look soft. They can't look soft.
They can't do it.
But some extra fun bits.
I'm hard as fuck.
Some extra fun bits I wanted to point out in the chaos.
Okay.
Is that there's just a couple of like random tidbits here. One, George Santos was lurking around the whole time. Did you see pictures of him?
Oh, I did. I saw him doing the white supremacy thing or whatever.
Yep. Yeah. Nobody wanted to talk to him. He threw up like the OK sign, the KKK white supremacy sign. So that was fun. At the start of the GOP House, when they first came in, they took all the metal detectors down. Don't know why they'd want to do that.
What?
They took the metal detectors out that were installed after January 6th.
Okay.
So you can speculate for yourself.
It's also like just so funny that all of this was happening on January 6th.
Yeah.
The house in disarray yet again.
Every 2 years. It's just
every 2 years, members
crazy.
of the House facing the threat of violence in Matt Gaetz's case.
Yeah. McCarthy also moved into the speaker office before he won the vote.
Oh, a little overzealous.
And then Matt Gaetz was a petty bitch, and he sent a letter to like the administrative office or something, like building administration, to get him kicked out.
Dude, that's so funny. If Matt Gaetz wasn't a pedophile, I'd be rooting for him.
Yeah, I know.
Pedophile, sex trafficker. Oh,
not much redeeming qualities there.
No.
And then at the same time that Mike Rogers was trying to fight Matt Gaetz, Marjorie Taylor Greene was trying to hand her phone to another holdout, Representative Matt Rosendale, and on the line was Donald Trump.
Hey, yo.
And he said no. He said, I'm not answering. Don't do that to me. So
that's crazy.
Just a couple of fun things that were going on in the House of Representatives.
Before we move on, I've got a little interesting tidbit about George Santos that's happening this week. Apparently, I didn't know that he was like in Brazil, or he had ever been in Brazil, or he grew up in Brazil. But apparently, the Brazilian government is reopening a criminal case against him for something he did when he was 19, when he stole a checkbook and bought $700 worth of goods with it at like some store.
Oh, so he did like what, check fraud? some shit.
Check fraud or like stole $700 worth of merchandise or some shit like that, whatever. But now they're reopening his case, and the reason that they couldn't open the case against him before is because they couldn't find an address for him because he was doing something funky with his addresses, and also his sister owes like $50,000 in rent on the place that he was staying, but she was actually staying in because he wasn't locked down in one place. He was running from the Brazilian government, but now that he's a representative, he has to have an address. And Brazil is opening up their probe against him.
Oh, they're like, you have an office that we can send this to now.
We can serve you, finally.
This guy, he's from Brazil, and because I remember this came out, I don't know if we talked about this in the episode that we played the little George Santos game. But yeah, his family's from Brazil, but he claimed that they were from Ukraine and fleeing the Nazis, and that's where he said, "I'm not Jewish, I'm Jewish." But I don't think his family is from Ukraine; they're from Brazil, and he also committed crimes in Brazil,
and probably fled Brazil to here. Maybe he was an asylum seeker.
But I've seen, yeah, exactly. I've seen images of him and Marjorie Taylor Greene hanging out in the House floor. So they're friends now, I think.
Oh, wait, they're fucking.
They are fucking. They are fucking. Moving on to one thing that the House might actually get done, though.
Okay.
And that's some legislation on immigration. One thing they might actually be able to do, given that Republicans have the majority, and Democrats seem to maybe have an appetite.
Willing to placate.
Yeah, exactly. So, and the reason I bring this up is because Biden is traveling to the U.S.-Mexico border today, which is Sunday.
Nice.
He's traveling on Sunday, and he's already unveiled some new immigration measures. And I just want to note before we dive into this section that any legislation that gets done with a Republican House kind of dictating the terms is not going to be good.
Bad.
And I have evidence of this because the steps that Biden has taken are already, I think, violations of international law and human rights and stuff like that.
Cool.
So. This is from The Hill. This is the first thing he unveiled. Quote, the administration said Thursday that individuals from Cuba, Nicaragua, Venezuela, and Haiti would be blocked from applying for asylum if they crossed the U.S.-Mexico border without authorization.
That's very targeted.
Officials also said they would propose a rule prohibiting migrants from applying for asylum in the U.S. if they did not first seek protection in a country they traveled through en route to the southern border. Now, for those of you that don't know, asylum seekers, according to international law, which the United States apparently doesn't have to adhere to, which I don't think they really have to adhere to.
It's just like war crimes, how we exempted ourselves from those.
Yeah,
somehow.
And there's no real way to punish us for violating international law. It's just kind of there. But asylum seekers are supposed to be allowed to either declare asylum at a point of entry, or if they're in the country, declare asylum at like an official government building, like a courthouse or something like that. Yeah. That's all you got to do is say, like, declare asylum, fill out the applicable forms, etc. And this here from Biden is saying that any refugee or any asylum seekers from these countries can't declare asylum if they cross the border without authorization, which is like, how do you declare asylum then, brother?
Yeah.
You want them to sit at the border of a country they're trying to flee?
I'm declaring asylum.
Yeah, like, I don't know. It's just another insanely brutal thing. And it's also notable that each of these four countries, Cuba, Nicaragua, Venezuela, and Haiti, have all been meddled in by the United States very heavily.
Yeah.
And a lot of people might be fleeing from those countries because of the meddling that the United States has done. And it's just like, more evidence of us being insanely brutal.
It's also crazy because, like, Trump didn't even go that far.
Yeah. I mean, Trump did a whole lot of awful shit.
Trump did a whole lot of really bad stuff, but he didn't go into, we're going to ignore, like, the international law here and say you can't declare asylum.
Well, he kind of did. He kind of did stop people from applying for asylum.
Oh, facts.
But Biden's just doing it as a Democrat.
He's doing it in the liberal way.
Yeah, exactly.
He's doing everything but let's build a wall.
Yeah, I mean, and that's even more proven with the second point, which was just simply the Biden admin's going to continue to use Title 42. Nice. I know this was blocked in court from him completely getting rid of it, but you would think, like, okay, it can't be taken off the books entirely, but do you have to enforce it?
You could just not use it.
Like, you are the executive branch. You can choose to not.
You wanted to get rid of it, right? You couldn't get rid of it, and you said, well, they forced my hand.
Right. It's like, it's wholly an executive thing. You don't have to. You know, you really don't have to. And then when unveiling these measures, Biden, he doubled down. He was giving a press conference when he unveiled all these. And he doubled down on the do not come rhetoric from Kamala Harris a few years ago. And he said, do not show up at the border. That was it. Just don't show up at the border. He
knew not to say do not come, or else he was going to get sound bit to oblivion.
He said don't show up at the border. This was in like relation to him saying that you need to apply first, which is fine. But if the system takes, 5 years for you to get in, people are, they're going to cross the border illegally. And there's been a whole lot of fear-mongering recently about like millions of people coming into the country, and one, not true. I doubt that there's millions of people. I haven't seen any evidence, verifiable evidence that like millions of people are flooding into the country.
People are crossing the border every single day.
I know there's some statistic out there that in November the Border Patrol picked up and kicked out like a record number of people like on the southern border, but it's like, I mean, so what? You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like, why? What does that matter? Because immigrants are only ever good for the economy.
Yeah.
They only ever put in more than they ever take out. I always fail to see how this is actually a problem.
And it's crazy because this is wholly consistent with everything else that Biden has said about immigration. He's just now, I guess, taking steps to enforce what they said before about stay where you are and go to the U.S. Embassy.
Yeah. No, yeah, stay where you are. Don't ever come to the country. And it's just like, it further supports the idea that Biden does not have open border policies.
Oh, yeah.
And Republicans are going to claim he does. That's like one of the main things they run on. But the problem, of course, is that Biden can't out tough on the border the Republican Party.
Absolutely
he can't.
not.
Like, you
Absolutely
can't do it.
not.
It's like, I mean, he could try to like, I know Democrats in the past have tried to out tough on crime the Republicans, and they've seen some amount of success for that. But I don't see how you can out tough on the border Republicans without just like becoming a Nazi, like just being racist and xenophobic. Like I don't know how you do that
without spouting right replacement. Yeah, because all they can really do is match.
Yeah,
and that's what he's doing. He's matching everything, just not aesthetically.
Yeah.
All the policy is the same.
Our critique the whole time for Biden has been like, yeah, maybe some of the social policies are better. He's definitely less awful compared to Donald Trump, but he's pushing the same immigration policies. And this is definitely the case here. It's exactly what he's doing.
It, but he's being nicer about pushing the policies, kind of. Nicer on the ears, not nicer to the immigrants.
Yeah, exactly.
Mind you.
Like a better immigration package would, it would make naturalization a lot easier and faster because it takes a long time for people just to get in front of a court.
Increase the number of visas that are given out.
Yeah, yeah. It would offer programs for transportation that don't just drop you off at Martha's Vineyard.
Yeah.
It would give you like an actual access to like anywhere in the country to go find jobs. It would offer actual work to incoming migrants that isn't like $3 a day.
Yeah.
It would obviously keep families together. And, if they wanted to go even further for a big immigration package, would be like funding and partnering with countries that are destabilized to better stabilize them so people don't have to leave, right? Like solve the source of the problem.
Exactly.
But of course, doing that would mean holding up U.S. imperial ventures, which isn't something that's going to happen. World hegemon type shit.
I love it.
So, that's Biden on immigration. Something that might actually get done that's only probably going to be bad, but I guess we'll see.
It's like the only things that are going to be done these next 2 years are the bad things.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm doing the bad things too now.
Exactly.
I'm being malicious in 2023.
I mean, if they are going to be, why not me?
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'll match their energy.
I'm cynical about it actually being good, but I guess I'll hold judgment until they do it. But given Biden's track record on immigration, I'm not hopeful.
Real recognize real, you know what I'm saying?
True.
That's what's going on here.
That's right.
Speaking about Republicans kind of poisoning the well, you're never going to do it better than them lying essentially about their messaging. We're going to talk about some tax discourse.
Oh, my favorite.
I know it's like it's so riveting talking about the IRS, but I just wanted to make this point because I was perusing the conservative Reddit earlier because I wanted to see what their reaction to the Kevin McCarthy stuff was, and I didn't get that far before I found just gas.
Yeah, okay.
Before I found this one image that was fucking crazy. it was a picture of, I guess, what was supposed to be Aztecs doing a human sacrifice, and then Spanish conquistadors, very white, coming in, and they're drawn in like an art style that's very soft compared to the indigenous Aztec people doing the human sacrifice with blood all over them.
Of course.
The conquistadors, they all have crosses on them and look very soft and unintimidating in the issue. And the Aztecs had a speech bubble that said, this isn't tax discourse, mind you, this is a tangent. The Aztecs had a speech bubble that said, oh, look, it's the far right. And then all the fucking replies to that meme were like thinking that they understood the text of the meme more than everyone else, because very clearly the text of what this image was saying was that look, the conquistadors weren't bad, and or something like that, like they're calling the far right bad when it's actually the establishment Republicans that are bad.
Conservatives classically very good at understanding art.
Classically 6th grade reading level.
Yeah,
because this one's arguably like 7th grade comprehension you gotta have, because you had to have at least learned about Spanish American colonization before you can understand what this image is communicating to you. But yeah, all the replies to that one were just some dude said that what's his name? Cortez, the main conquistador, was actually on the right side of history and the good guy.
Nice.
Because the Aztecs were genocidal maniacs who did human sacrifices instead of just being genocidal maniacs. Anyway, it was a trip to read. It was crazy. That distracted me.
Yeah, okay,
And then
okay.
I backed off of that to look up more Kevin stuff, right? Didn't get far before I stumbled on a Fox News headline, and that's what we're going to talk about today.
Nice.
So the headline was, quote, "The IRS targeted poorest taxpayers while millionaires were mostly unscathed in 2022.
Ooh, normal capitalism moment.
Normal capitalism moment, right? Sounds very bad. Normal Fox News moments. And like other Fox News articles, despite this headline being absolutely fucking bonkers, right, and just there to fearmonger, the body of the article is actually like pretty tame for Fox News primetime standards. It talks about how like some percentage of taxpayers in this income bracket face this chance of being audited, while millionaires only face the smaller chance of being audited. Like standard stuff we already know, stuff you should already know if you like pay attention. You know what I mean? And you follow like media narratives.
We've been saying this.
Exactly. They then go on to talk about Biden's claims that the Inflation Reduction Act will balance the scales and the new funding for the IRS will enable them to go after millionaires. The article then points out that the IRS claims it does not have the resources to go after millionaires, and so they have to strategize and go after the most cases with the least amount of resources, which is accurate. It's an accurate assessment of the situation.
Yeah, and like
know what I mean?
it makes sense, right? That like if they are underfunded as they are and as they claim to be, then yeah, they can't go after people with millions of dollars and millions, or I guess hundreds, thousands of assets, because how are you going to go through all of that in a timely manner and get the money you need?
Lawyers that have chosen to work for the public sector. You have agents that have chosen to work for the public sector for a very standard amount of pay, nothing very glamorous, something comfortable, going against dudes who are making millions of fucking dollars a year. Just with these cases, living the luxurious life, doing whatever they can to get the fucking bag.
It's like how we talked about Trump had one guy investigating everything. It's crazy.
He had one guy looking over all of his tax returns.
It's unacceptable.
It's nuts. It's very clear that it's understaffed, right? But the article itself, pretty bog standard. It's a regular article with a clear anti-IRS slant once you start paying attention. But the headline's what you need for Fox News' broader political motivations,
right? Okay,
what they want to accomplish. And it just made me think about how tax discourse with conservatives is really just this positive feedback loop. It constantly feeds into himself. Headlines like the one we just talked about stoke people's fears about being audited because nobody likes paying taxes.
Right.
Uncontroversial. I don't like paying taxes. I recognize it as a civic duty and a necessity, but it's not something I myself enjoy doing. It's not something I don't enjoy being stolen from.
Exactly. It's mine.
That's how Fox News is framing it, right? They're framing it like this government bureaucracy is coming after you. You, poor person who's watching Fox News. The government is going to come after you.
Right.
And you saw this a lot, especially when the Inflation Reduction Act got passed and they started talking about Joe Brandon's dark army of 87,000
IRS agents.
They will do whatever they can to poison the well when it comes to IRS discourse. And anytime the IRS gets more funding, right? And then conservatives in positions of power lie and mislead the average American, and they use headlines like this to do so. Because they've already been primed. They already have their foot in the door. You're already thinking that they're going to come after you.
Right.
So then they push forward a law that defunds the IRS. And like, we're going to stop them from coming after you. Because if we stop this funding, if we reduce the number of agents, they're not going to steal from you anymore. The average everyday American shouldn't have to worry about the audits. It's these millionaires. That's who the IRS needs to focus. But in saying all of that, they obfuscate the fact that, hey, the IRS is understaffed, and that's why they have to stretch so far to get to poor people. That's why they can't go after millionaires. Again, Trump had one guy to review all of his things.
And the reason that the right wing constantly demonizes the IRS is not because they have some principled stance against like tax collection or something like that. It's because they have to relate their demonization to the IRS, or the demonization of the IRS, to the average person. Otherwise, it's pretty clear they're just protecting billionaires.
Oh, absolutely.
The Republican Party functions, well, at least when they were kind of more normal, they functioned to just protect the wealthy. Like, that was it.
Yeah.
That was all they want. That was Mitt Romney's platform. That was what John Boehner, when he was the speaker, wanted to do. They wanted to just protect wealthy people.
Yeah.
And in order to attack the IRS, you have to make it seem as though the IRS is going after more poor people. And functionally, and fortunately for the Republican Party, they can make that happen by not funding the IRS, which forces the IRS to go after more poor people and working class people because they don't have the resources to go after rich people.
And then the numbers support it, because in the Fox News article, it said poor people were 12.3% of poor people were at risk of being audited, or 12.3% of every 1,000 whatever people were being audited, versus 1% of every 1,000 millionaires had risk of being audited and shit like that. And it's like the numbers support it, and then they can use that to go to their base to get more people elected to further defund the IRS. And then the IRS, their resources are further limited, and they have to stretch even farther, and they have to go after more people, because it is infinitely easier to get the guy who has a side hustle on Cash App, who is not reporting his Cash App business dealings to the government, because Cash App and all of these pay services, PayPal, Cash App, Venmo, Apple Pay, have their own internal ways of reporting the IRS so they don't get in trouble. So you can never get away from it. It's infinitely easier to go after those people to get an extra couple $100s than it is to go after the millionaire who's paying some fucking lawyer who went to Yale millions of dollars and who's hiding his money in offshore bank accounts.
Switzerland,
It's infinitely easier to do these things.
And it's like your take from, I don't know, however many months ago you said this. Conservatives are allergic to bringing up bills and actually proposing solutions. They just refuse to solve any problems. When it comes to the IRS specifically, and how the IRS has to target poor and working class people in order to make the money it needs, doesn't have the resources to target the wealthy, it's like conservatives could solve that. And Republicans love having this facade of being pro-working class, but will not do anything to fund the IRS, the one organization that could actually get the taxes needed to help the working class, by going after rich people. They won't do it.
The one government organization that makes more money than it is given. That is that profits. That profits.
The IRS it's demonized so much, and I get it, because again, people don't like paying taxes. But if we gave it the resources to go after rich people, and then we made it so it primarily went after uber wealthy people in this country, the people that are siphoning wealth from the poorest people up to the top, then it would do its job. It is an executive agency. We can tell it what to do, and conservatives could introduce bills to tell it what to do, but they're allergic to it.
The IRS wouldn't need to push forward policies like going after any transaction over $600 within PayPal, Cash App, or Venmo like they were trying to last year. They would not need to do that if they had the resources to go after Trump, who received a $72 million tax refund that has not been able to be fully audited yet, because there's one guy working on the thing.
It's crazy. Conservatives, Republicans, they'll just complain, and say that Democrats are the ones that are for the elite. They're the ones that are supporting the wealthy, and it's certainly true for some Democrats that they are doing that. But then they'll either do the exact same thing, or they'll just double down and do it even worse, be even more harmful, and say that the IRS has 87,000 shadow agents that are coming after you. It's no, the IRS, you can tell it what to do and it will do that. You are Congress. You can do that.
You can tell them, stop doing this, focus on this. But they refuse to ever play ball, and it further propagates and expands the issue and makes more poor people get audited more often and less millionaires. But that's what the Republicans in Congress want.
It's crazy how Republicans have taken just a full-throated stance against the one agency that could target billionaires. The one group that could just get money from billionaires, put it into the government and public projects.
The one industry that pays them. The one way that they get the fucking money to get their paychecks, even though they get their money through illicit means anyway.
I mean, just goes to show you, Republican Party is the party of the wealthy, and Democrats too, kind of, but more so Republicans for sure.
That's a fun little bit on tax discourse that we had to throw in there, because it had me irked. Had me irked.
Does that bring us to the end of our episode?
I think that does. That brings us to the end, and that brings us to our list of beautiful patrons. Beautiful $10 and up patrons.
Speaking of taxes. I am the IRS because I'm looking for my bag.
I'm looking for it too.
and in that same vein of looking for a bag, we got to thank the people that deliver the bag I then use on crypto to lose it all.
We got to thank the taxpayers who are going to help us recover all our lost funds.
Absolutely. So we got to give a special thanks to Cricket Scrapbook Layouts, Nikki Nine Lives, Kaden Kraut, Lord T, Chris the Postman, Christy Beck, Talia Katz, 40% Spite, Andrew Harris, Mike Chaplinsky, Mattias T, The B-Plot, Omar Zuno, Clayton LaFed, Mark Yeager, Sarah McRoberts, Derek Messina, Dylan B, Kaz, Caleb Joy, Jim Bobs, Carl D, Rich Toro, Tari, Gavin Mayer, Maldonado, Hunter W, Fergalaki, Max Vasquez, Jacob Rogers, Colt Newberry, Fixer Punk, Jim Egbers, Jeff Muzzy, Ted Cruz's Boy Toy, Bagel Burrito, Cincy Alex Bread, Joe Stenstrom, Austin Reed, Adrian Sandoval, Chloe Sam 601, Judah Marshall, Colleen Cutts, John Barr, Timothy Espinoza, George is in my name, Varuk, and my mom. Thank you all for supporting the show on Patreon. If that list gets any longer, we might have to come up with something new.
That's what I'm saying.
And you know what? That's a good problem to have.
We might have to have a roll at the end, like at the end of prescription commercials. You know what I mean? Where they list off all the side effects. You might just hear us go, Nikki Nine Lives, Ken Crowd, Lord T, Chris Postman, Chrissy Beck, Tally Cats.
Yeah, exactly. Just speed it up.
Just speed it up real fast.
Taking up half the episode. Not that we're upset about that.
No, not at all. We'd like it if it could take up half the episode on like maybe 2 or 3 episodes a week. If you could get our money up, you know.
Maybe one day we buy out like a giant building in New York, right?
Yeah.
And we turn it all in. It's the Head in the Office Tower.
Oh.
We buy out all of the offices there. We don't rent them out. We own them. We now own the building.
Fun.
And we buy out the block, and then we raise the prices of people living on that block by pumping up the property values.
Yeah.
So then the people that were paying rent there can't afford to live there anymore.
And we actually just keep them vacant.
Yeah.
We keep the buildings vacant and let the land appreciate because we're doing scarcity.
And then people protest outside of Hiddo Tower.
And then I'm popping champagne right on top, right outside of it. Woo!
And then suddenly it's the Occupy Hiddo movement. And suddenly my class interests have changed, so I am now voting Republican.
Exactly. This is the one instance where I need to get my funny up to get my money up. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying?
I'm just like the IRS. I'm bag chasing.
Oh my goodness.
We're going to employ 87,000 shadow agents, and they're actually going to do what Ted Cruz says they do.
That's all facts. Mm-hmm. Get fucked. Idiots.
Yeah.
Idiots.
Thanks for listening, everyone.
Have a great week.